Hey, what's going on? Luke here. It wasn't that long ago I was here talking about the 2022 NRL season. We are currently in 2023 and the season isn't that far from starting. Well, at least like it should start. I mean, there's all the talks about the player strikes and such, but I still thought I'd go ahead and give my thoughts on the top 5 signings going into the 2023 season. Now, there's plenty of signings that have been made, plenty of high profile ones, a couple at the same club. So I feel like I'll touch on a couple who are going to be playing at the same club. So if I mention one, I might mention the other rather than just add them all on the same list, because it just doesn't seem fair that some of these clubs have made some really great signings that you'd see them multiple times. So I figured that I'd spice it up a little bit, add a few more players there. Now, I will later on do some more sort of videos like this where I'll talk about players I'm personally excited to see play. But this is purely, for me, this is purely the top 5 signings objectively that everyone can sort of agree on. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get into the list. Let's start off with the first one. Actually, let's not start off with the first one. I need to mention that this isn't really in like a particular order. I kind of just picked 5 players and we're going to go from there. So just because number 5 is number 5 doesn't mean I don't think he's the best signing. I just kind of chucked him in willy-nilly. So just going to have to deal with that. Now, at the start of the video, I did mention that I was going to be talking about one player from one club, but that's not exactly true because the first couple of players I'll touch on, they will be number 5 and number 4. I may as well just talk about them together though. I'm going to go with Reed Marnie, who you're seeing on the screen right now. A new signing from the Parramatta Eels to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And I think you can already tell who's going to be the next one, but we'll touch on him in a minute. But Reed Marnie, fantastic signing. I'm super excited to see him. I was talking about players I'm excited to see in 2023. I'm a Bulldog supporter. Obviously, I'm going to be excited to see Reed Marnie play. In fact, I feel like there's been a fair few hookers who have signed at other clubs this season. You'll see a few mentioned in this list. There's a little bit of a spoiler. But Reed Marnie, I think might have been one of the first ones signed, and for me, one of the most important ones. A lot of the other ones have signed for clubs that they have needed a hooker, but only in the last couple of years. Even some of them didn't really need a hooker, you would think. But the Bulldogs have been crying out for a hooker since about 2014, since Michael Ennis left. They've tried Michael Leacher. They had Damien Cook, and they let him go, which is just ridiculous. How are you going to let Damien Cook go? Thank you, Des Hazard. Thank you so much, mate. Much appreciated. Definitely not a bad move. And then you add in all the makeshift hookers like Jeremy Marshall-King. Don't get me wrong, he actually ended up okay last year. Going to be a decent signing for the Dolphins, but just we haven't been able to have a solid number 9, someone who's actually got good service from dummy half, which I think is going to help out all the players around him. It's going to help Burton. It's going to help probably Flanagan. I guess he's going to be the halfback. Whoever's going to be in the side, it's going to help a lot the fact that we have someone who's actually capable of throwing a nice pass, because I'm not going to lie, Marshall King, a little bit dodgy in that department, and so is everyone else who's been in that position for the Dogs since Michael Ennis. Even in Michael Ennis' last couple of years, he wasn't that great for the Bulldogs. Would have won a premiership with the Sharks, but yeah, we really have struggled in that department. Same as fullback. Obviously, didn't sign a fullback. But Reed Marnie just could be that missing piece of the puzzle that the Bulldogs have needed for quite some time. Obviously, all the talk at the moment is about Stephen Crichton. But for me, he's one of the most important signings of recent time. Obviously, anytime you sign a spine player, it's going to be an important one, as we'll see on this list. But yeah, Reed Marnie, I'm so excited to see how it goes. Here's a guy who probably isn't going to be like a top 3 dummy half, but like he's a guy who's going to be very, very solid, and that might be all the Bulldogs need. We just need a very, very solid, dependable hooker who can play 80 minutes, tackle his guts out, great service and dummy half. He's been doing it for years at the Eels. He was one that the Eels, I think they let go of Nathan Peets, who was playing for New South Wales, I believe, at that point. I think they might have tried a few other people, but he was someone who was an unknown, came into the squad. He's a Bulldogs junior, I should mention as well, but came into this Eels squad and sort of looked like a first grader right from the first minute. So I think you can tell Eels fans are quite disappointed to lose him. Obviously, they're trying to keep other players like Mitchell Moses and such, but Reed Marnie is a huge loss for them. I know they signed Hodgson. He's not on this list. Great replacement, but at the same time, Reed Marnie's Reed Marnie, super young. He's got a big, big future. Couple of concerns in terms of shoulder injuries, I believe, but apart from that, I think it's going to be a great signing for the Doggies. And speaking of great signings for the Doggies, this is, like I said, I'm not going to be mentioning all players from the same club. You can mention a fair few, but this one is also going to be from the Bulldogs. I thought it was unfair to sort of label them together because they're 2 complete different players, and they're sort of, I don't know, they're just very, very different. So we're going to be talking about Viliami Kikau, who is a second rower. He's a forward. You can argue he's the best second rower in the comp. Every centre who's played outside of him, every winger who's played outside of him, they've immediately looked like a world-class centre, whether it be Matt Burton, whether it be Targo. You had the May on the wing. You've had all these players who have played outside of him. He's great in defence. All those little things that we questioned about Kikau a couple of years ago, he's really, really worked on, like, which was defense, all the effort plays. He does all of that. Very, very skillful. We know how damaging he is with the ball, but I'm excited to see some leadership that he brings to the Bulldogs forward pack, because I feel like that's something that we have lacked. And I know we're losing Josh Jackson, but apart from that, like, we're not really losing anyone significant. So you got Reed Mundy coming in, experience. You got Viliame Kikau coming in, experience. It's exactly what the Bulldogs have needed. And also, you got a winning mentality too. He's just coming from the Panther system, where he's been a huge part of them winning back-to-back premierships. And I'm going to be talking about, Crichton's coming next year, and, Serrato's the coach, and Matty Burton's still there, and, we're basically the Panthers and all that sort of stuff. But we're signing the right players. Obviously not going to go out and sign a Nathan Cleary, but we're not signing the rejects like we have done in previous years. Your Brenton Nadines, your Hetheringtons, all those sort of guys. We're signing the top dog. We're signing the Kikau's. And Kikau, in my opinion, is the best second rower in the world. And, if he was a New South Welshman, he'd be straight in the New South Wales squad. Same for Queensland. Same for Australia. He's just that good of a player. And I'm so excited to see him play, especially considering, like, I've been watching like little bits of the Bulldogs little documentary thing they're doing, and you're just seeing the players buy into the culture, and, he's obviously Fijian, so it's cool just to see some different cultures, and Kikau does bring the Fijian flair into the Bulldogs side, which I haven't really seen too many Fijians feature for the Dogs ever, really. So that's another little element, but just having his skill, his versatility, just the actual threat of him being able to smash someone and run through the line, added with Pengai Jr. and a few of the other forwards, we do have a pretty intimidating forward pack sort of building up. So very excited for that one. Really rate that signing. Don't worry, guys. Not all the players are going to be Bulldogs. In fact, that's all the Bulldogs players over and done with. The next player I'm going to be talking about is from the Brisbane Broncos. It is Reece Walsh, signing from the Warriors, who signed from the Broncos. Bit of a weird sort of, circumstances, but basically Reece Walsh left the Broncos to get a first grade opportunity and then came back the second he could. I don't know if that's a reflection of the Broncos. I feel like it's a very Broncos thing to do. They've sort of been renowned as being a club. I mean, you look at your Milfords, your Ben Barbers, pretty much anyone in general who came through the ranks and they didn't give a chance. They go to another side, they play pretty well, and unless they're like the Roosters or something like that, they usually end up going back to the Broncos at some point. So many teams who could have signed Reece Walsh, and he ends up at the Broncos, a team that he left. It does seem quite strange. But look, he's going to go back there. He is going to be the number one. Obviously, Selwyn Cobbo is there too, and there's been a lot of talk that he was the future of the Broncos. And they had Tessie New there. They've tried a few people at fullback, but fullback's sort of been the one position they haven't been to find like an absolute superstar fullback. Or at least like potential-wise. Like I said, Cobbo could be that. He definitely could be that. He's playing for Queensland, but he's playing on the wing, and there's no guarantees he's going to transition into fullback. Whereas Reece Walsh has been playing week in, week out at fullback, even in the halves a little bit as well, so he can play there. At a stretch, maybe if Cobbo does well, they can shift him into 5'8". Adam Reynolds is there. He can teach him the ropes. Something along the lines of that. But yeah, I really do like this signing for the Broncos. It makes perfect sense considering fullback was position that they were sort of shifting a lot of people around. Tamari Martin, I thought was looking quite good for them. I wouldn't have been too disappointed if I was the Broncos if he had Tamari Martin, but if Reece Walsh is available, you're going to sign Reece Walsh, you know what I mean? He's just one of those players, super young, was in the Queensland squad, obviously didn't play, but he was in the Queensland squad, pulled out last minute. He has so much potential, all the potential in the world. Hearing little whispers that he might be a little bit of a pest off the field, but we'll see how that goes. Broncos seem to cover up a lot of those sort of things, but I've seen enough about him as of late that, he might get in a little bit of trouble. I mean, obviously already has got in some trouble off the field, so just have to keep that in mind in terms of Broncos fans. Like, great player, but plenty of great players end up doing dumb stuff. So hopefully he sort of pulls his head in a little bit. Like I said, he's very, very young, going back to a super high-profile team who are looking to improve greatly this year. And I think he'll definitely add a lot to that side. He will add a lot. So, yeah, Reece Walsh always going to be a threat with the ball. It's just a matter of his defense is a little bit iffy, but he's young enough that he can work on that, and I'm confident that he will. At least, I think in the next couple of years, we'll be able to say that Reece Walsh is one of the better fullbacks in the comp. And there's a lot of good fullbacks in the NRL at the moment, and I think Reece Walsh should be right up there as well. The next player we're going to be talking about is from the West Tigers. It is Api Koroisau, signing from the Penrith Panthers. Panthers have lost a lot of players, which is natural. I mean, all the talk of the Bulldogs signing all the Panthers players as well, but they're not the only club who are signing Penrith players. Api Koroisau, you can argue, apart from Nathan Cleary, could be the most important player in the premiership wins the last couple of seasons. Obviously, Kikau was there, Burton's left, but they hadn't really lost anyone, and now they have, and they've lost a big, important part in Api Coruscant. Anytime you lose a spine player, I was talking about it with Reed Marnie, but the spine plays are so important. There's a reason that they get talked about a lot. Your number 1, your number 6, your number 7, and your number 9. And Api Coruscant, you can argue he is the best number 9 in the game. Going to be a lot of talk about potentially someone else on this list, potentially Harry Grant, a few other guys out there, your Damien Cooks and such. But for me, Api Coruscant is right up there. Look, he adds a lot of influence to the team, a lot of leadership, made some questionable comments about the West Tigers, and I know a lot of it was sort of put down to, oh, well, he's just, he was on the drink and, he didn't really mean it, and maybe he didn't, maybe he did, I don't know, but it wasn't a great look. But from all reports, he's come over, he's been training the house down, which is such a cliche, but for someone like Coruscant, I can actually see that, like him actually being really good around the squad, and I feel like he's another player who can bring the best out of some of these guys around him. So some of the guys who've probably been at the club for a little bit, and your Stefanos and such, who they're very young and they're just a lot of potential, but they need to unearth that potential. Coruscant could be perfect for them. Great service out of dummy half. He's pretty quick, pretty nippy, pretty good around the rock in terms of creating some chances there. Look, he's sort of getting up there in age, but in terms of him bringing over premiership success, he's definitely going to bring that. And, I don't think the Tigers are going to be a team that's going to be pushing for a premiership in the next couple of seasons. And but with the addition of Papali'i and a few of the other guys that they've signed, this is what I mean. I could have added Papali'i into this video because he's been fantastic for the Eels the last couple of seasons. Back in the day when he was playing for the Warriors, he showed a lot of potential, but he was kind of in and out of the side at times. But he went to the Eels and he immediately made himself known. He definitely made himself known. I think, did he get second row of the year at one point? So, talked about Kikau being the best second rower. You can argue Papali'i is as well. So, look, a great signing from the Tigers. They've actually had, probably for the first time, they've actually had a very, very successful off-season in terms of recruitment. I was just watching a video that I did a couple of years back where I was going through the Tigers signings, and you're going through some of them, and they were just absolutely diabolical, like your M. Byers, your Josh Reynolds, all those sort of guys who are paying huge money, and they were just absolute not nobodies, but in terms of what they brought to the Tigers, they brought absolutely nothing. And then you got guys like Papali'i who just sort of capped off a season where he played in the grand final. Coruscant just won a grand final. Gone are the days where they're signing all these sort of lackluster players on $800,000, $900,000 deals just purely to get someone across. You know what I mean? That's what the Tigers are known for. That's how they found themselves in the position that they're in. But they are slowly changing things. So I think between them and the Bulldogs, I think they've had very, very good off seasons in terms of recruitment. And look, a big one is Api Coruscant. You could argue he's the best signing. Maybe we'll see at the end of the season. Maybe it'd be a terrible move for him moving from Panthers. We'll probably see how important he was to the Panther side as well. So maybe Mitch Kenny comes in, does a job for them, and we go, Coruscant's kind of just another part of that Panther side. Or maybe we see them just drop down dramatically and you go, Coruscant was just that good. He's played for New South Wales, probably would play for Australia if I think he didn't opt to play for his other country, which is Fiji, I'm pretty sure as well. I think Fiji, possibly. Apologies if it's not. But look, an incredible player, an incredible signing. And now on to the last player on this list. It is another dummy half, another hooker. It's a hectic cheese, Brandon Smith. Now, I did a little video where I talked about how he actually sort of announced that he was signing for the Roosters, and the big media circus around where was Brandon Smith going. The YKTR boys love their content, but a lot of drama that was created that didn't need to happen, and obviously a lot of it's gone quiet, and all the talk was he's going to move to Sydney and he's going to get in trouble, and he's going to be in the media, he's going to be doing this and that. But so far so good from the hectic cheese. Not too much hecticness about him at the moment. Is he going to be a good signing for the Roosters? I think he is. I really think he is. There's been a lot of talk as well that he's going to go to the Roosters and he's going to flop, and I don't really know. I don't know if that's people sort of changing their tune on Brandon Smith and they're sort of hoping that he does because he's now playing for the Roosters. Now, the Storm were never the most likeable side, but you go to the Roosters and you instantly become pretty unlikable unless you're like a James Tedesco or maybe like an Angus Crichton or someone. But for the most part, the Roosters don't exactly have the most likable players. So I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's the comments that he's made. I don't know if it was the media circus, but a lot of people have sort of changed their tune on Brandon Smith, including me a little bit. He was one of my favourite players in the whole comp, and now he's kind of, I don't mind him, but he's definitely not my favourite player. But he is a character, he's a larrikin. There's a lot of talk about needing larrikins in the game, needing characters in the game. Now, do you need them behaving like he does sometimes? Maybe, maybe not. But in terms of what he does on the footy field, he's absolutely incredible. You're going to get 110% out of him. Once again, such a cliche, but that's what he does. And I feel like he's someone who, I've seen like little clips of him at training mic'd up. Seems like someone who's good to have around the club, someone who can lift the someone who can lift the morale, someone who can just bring the energy. Brandon Smith's going to do that. He's going to bring the work ethic. He's going to bring the intensity. He's going to bring success as well. Not that the Roosters don't have success, but you actually think, like, when was the last time Roosters actually won a premiership? A lot of the guys are still there from their last premiership, but it's been a little while, whereas Brandon Smith's, it's only a couple seasons since he's won one. So, look, he's been competing with Harry Grant. He's never been really able to just nail down that number 9 role. And, it's just unfortunate they had arguably the best hooker in the game. Like, he was competing with him. It was Cameron Smith before, Harry Grant after. Storm sort of made their decision early, I think, in terms of Harry Grant. And I think Brandon Smith was probably a victim of his own versatility, that he could literally play from prop to second row to lock. You could probably chuck him out in the centers or something. He's going to do a job for you wherever. So bring him off the bench rather than Harry Grant, who's purely a number 9. It just made way more sense that Brandon Smith was going to be that guy. And Storm obviously made their decision. I don't think they're going to regret it. And I don't think the Roosters are going to regret signing him as well. I think all the clubs would have been better off for having Brandon Smith, even like your Tigers, your Bulldogs, all the ones who have signed good hookers who are on this list. I still think that would be beneficial of having Brandon Smith in that side. And like I said, even if he's not playing great in terms of hook position, they got Turpin as well. I mean, he's not the best, but there's always options for the Roosters. You can always just have him as a battering ram. If things aren't going great, he can just pick up the ball and run hard. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many options for Brandon Smith. I don't see him being a flop like a few people are expecting. Maybe not being up to, like, hooker of the year that he won a couple of years ago. Maybe not up to that sort of standard, but I still think he's going to have a great season. I think it sort of all depends on, if Roosters come out and win a premiership, they're going to say genius move. If they don't win the premiership, and if they literally don't win the premiership, everyone's going to be laughing at him. So probably going to inspire him quite a bit, so that could work against the rest of the teams. But look, I think it's a fantastic signing. I think it's going to work out well for him, short term and long term. So good stuff, Brandon Smith. And guys, that's how I'm going to wrap things up here. Hopefully did enjoy that top 5 list, going over the top 5 signings going into 2023. Like I said at the start of the video, going to be doing a few more of these sort of videos, so stay tuned for that. But like I said, I'm wrapping it up here. If you happen to enjoy it, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to use the notification bell. Don't rely on those sub boxes. They are super, super dodgy. Use the notification bell. Tick on that little bell, and make sure you see my videos. Make sure you don't miss them. It's going to be uploading a lot more in the near future. So I promise you on that one. I said it a lot, but I promise you on that one. And now, also, go ahead and chuck me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Miss Luke and YT for the most part. My Facebook's Miss Luke, but everything else, including Snapchat, including TikTok, is Miss Luke and YT. Give me a follow, give me an ad. And that's all I got to say. That is my list. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with this list? Is there someone else I've completely missed? I'm sure there's going to be lots of ones like, your Josh Hodgsons, and there's probably a couple fullbacks like your Chance, Nicole Clodsad. There's a few players here I probably could have added to this list, but that's who I went with. Guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you some next one. See yous.